Welcome to Freelance Sucks. Here we discuss the dark side of freelancing about which nobody usually talks out loud. In this show, we speak with experienced freelancers, and I'm sure listening to their stories helps you prepare for freelancers' challenges. My name is Yuri. I'm a community builder at Code Control and 9am.works, and my guest is Lean Vilas, a freelance mentor for software engineers who shares all his knowledge from 10 plus years with others and keeps practicing as a lead software engineer. So, welcome, Leon.
Hey, Yuri. Thank you. Thank you very much for having me here today.
And let's start with the easiest question. For you, what is the most challenging part of being a freelancer?
Okay. Good question. I would say at the moment, and at the beginning, it was figuring out what I wanted to do as a freelancer. I had no clue. I'm a software engineer. I thought I wanted to do, coding for companies. And along the way, I realized, hey, I'm not enjoying this. I'm not getting any jobs. I'm not putting the effort in. And that's when I decided, okay, I'm going to focus on mentoring because this is something I want to explore. That was the first thing I faced that I was like, okay, this is very complicated. And at the moment, I would say how to scale not only how to scale my business, but also how to get clients and how to scale that as well in the long term. Because right now I'm doing one-on-one sessions, which for me are very meaningful, and I hope I can keep doing it. And I know it doesn't scale well because I need to put a lot of time in them, and I can either scale only by increasing the price or by doing some different setup. So yeah, this is what I'm looking into right now.
What is your marketing strategy at the moment?
At the moment, I'm mainly using LinkedIn as my go-to platform as a reference. I tailor my LinkedIn profile as a landing page. I learned also from a lot of people that do branding on LinkedIn because they share a lot of very valuable content. And I also use this platform called ADP List for people to book me. And it's great because it's a whole database of mentors, so people can actually find me organically through search engines or even through search within the platform. And I also have my website that I created mainly to be consistent with my online presence, and it was also a nice project to do. Those are, I would say, the three main points I'm focusing on.
What is the most time-consuming thing you must deal with as a freelancer, except for work, except for coaching itself?
Time-consuming. Oh, good question. I think right now what is consuming a lot of time, and I also enjoy it a lot, I have to say, it's building relationships, because what I'm trying to build is it's a business that goes around relationships. It's part of something that I value a lot. I don't want to make my business just a transaction. I want to create relationships. I want to know that people are happy with what I'm doing, and that after hiring me, they feel better, they feel more confident, so they know they are better prepared. And keeping up with this relationship really takes a lot of time. And again, I enjoy it a lot, but yeah, it takes a lot of time.
How do you deal with keeping up with all these relationships? I would say it's my personal question because I know so many people, and sometimes I feel so bad. Recently, I went to my LinkedIn, used the filter and read, and noticed a message from a person who wrote it like to me 2 months ago, and I was like, oh my god, this person was waiting. Most likely they weren't waiting, but it feels like they were waiting. Oh my god, somebody asked me something about 2 months ago, I didn't answer. So what is your approach to keep those relationships going?
I try to be very organized and disciplined about this. It doesn't always work, but I try. And I have blockers in my calendar to do this. I also have a database of what I call commitments on Notion, where I organize myself and I say, hey, I will do this by a certain time. So I put the commitment for myself. And I also organize my time with Pomodoros. You know, have you heard of the Pomodoro technique?
Yeah.
So I schedule a half-hour chunk of time, let's say, to go through messages, to answer, to at least give one answer. I cannot always engage in a conversation for a long time, but since asynchronous, I want to at least give one answer to keep the conversation flowing. And if I can spend more time, I will. Otherwise, I will stick to the one answer and then come back the other day or when I can.
No, it's interesting because I have pretty similar strategy, but for LinkedIn. So I have like 5-10 minutes time block each day to precisely go to LinkedIn, to go through my feed and do a meaningful comment under someone's post. So not just like, hey, congratulations, or hey, thank you, or whatever, but really to read this post. First of all, I'm learning something. And secondly, this meaningful post is keeping you alive for this person and also for others people who are also reading this post, who are also in their connections. And it's like the simple step helps to do so much. And I feel like also a very crucial thing that you told about these time chunks, because if I go on LinkedIn more than 10 minutes, I'll be sucked in. There is no way out of LinkedIn. So I have to use timer. I have to really be super, super, super careful about this time. So I totally get what you are talking about.
Yeah, and I actually, this is something I discovered when I started freelancing and I started engaging much more on LinkedIn. I discovered how, at least in my experience, how supportive the community on LinkedIn is. The people, like everyone is there to learn something or to get to know something new, and I engaged in the best conversations I ever experienced in a social network ever. And so it's very easy, as you said, like to get sucked in and just spend hours and hours there, because it's, I don't know, I learned a lot just by interacting.
Feels like LinkedIn are doing a great job encouraging people to go there. And yeah, so kudos to them. And what is the most nerve-wracking thing you must deal with as a freelancer?
Nerve-wracking. I'm not really sure. At the moment, because I'm still working part-time, I know I have a steady income, at least for a couple more months.
Yeah.
That I can live from that. I think the thing that's poking more in my head is, okay, if I have to live from this, how will I do it? This gets me on my nerves, because I know it won't happen from one day to another, and I know I'm learning how to do it also, because I never done it before. So I'm learning about marketing, sales, design, community also building, and so on. There are so many things, and the money is a result of all these things coming into place and actually delivering something that is valuable. But yeah, the question is there, right? Like, hey, how can I make a living out of this? Yeah, so that's, I would say, the thing that right now it's.
What is number one thing on your to-do list to deal with this question?
Oh, yeah, that's a great question. I don't know if I have a number one thing, but I have so many ideas that I want to explore. So many things. Every time I find something new, that I see someone doing something, I'm like, hey, I want to try this out, and let's see how it works, how it's received also. So I wouldn't say I have one thing very important on my to-do list. I would say I'm experimenting, and I see what I learn from each of these experiments and see how it goes. Yeah, and if I reach a point where I really need to figure things out, I don't know, I guess I can always
As a freelancer, do you ever feel professional loneliness?
So far, I haven't, because I think part of what I do, which is connecting with a lot of people, helped me feel in company, with like in good company actually.
Yeah.
Because although I know it's a service, right? But as I mentioned, I really like establishing connections, and it's important for me to know something about the person and understand what they are struggling with. Also, for me to be able to help them in the best way possible. So far, I think I really have like this relationships net, I would say, between what I do with all the mentorship sessions and also on LinkedIn, because it's funny. I started to see that there are a couple of people that are always kind of interacting with each other and so on, and this gives me also the feeling of, okay, I'm not alone in this. We're all figuring things out.
Yeah.
So yeah.
If your friend wanted to become a freelancer, what are top 3 things you'd advise them to consider before doing it?
Good question. I would say the first thing, especially if you're in Germany, figure out your taxes shit. It can be very complicated. So make sure to understand that. Read about it. Consult with people if you need to. I can definitely recommend a platform that I'm using called like free marketing here, but Accountable. They have great content for Germany taxes, and they support freelancers also a lot in this process. So that's the one thing. The second thing is figure out what you want to do, what you actually want to do, and not only what's gonna bring you money, because at least in my experience, the money is a consequence. It's not the end goal. Part of at least why I decided to start freelancing is to have the independence to be able to make decisions on how I want to structure my work and what kind of work I want to do. So that's the second thing. Figure out what you want to do. And the third thing, I would recommend to not leave everything from one day to another, and just be in a freelance mystical area of, hey, how am I going to support myself and my living? It at least for me, it was very helpful to be able to have a part-time job still and start the freelancing on the side. It can also be done full-time, depending, of course, of what kind of job you have full-time and what kind of work you want to do as freelancer. But I would say, don't go from 100 to 0 in no time. Make it progressive.
I feel like it's a very important thing. That's what I hear more and more for freelancers, because it looks like you can start right away and do right away stuff, but then it's so much easier to really go freelancing while having a full-time or part-time job. So I totally hear what you are talking about. And I wish to have the sky's the limit, but time is the limit. So the final question, if you were starting freelancing today, what is one thing you would have done differently?
I think I would have listened to myself more and pay more attention to what I was, what I wanted to do. Because when I started, as I mentioned, I was thinking, okay, I'm a software engineer. I have to do software engineering work, as in make money freelancing for software projects. And I had a couple of months where I was really not moving the needle anywhere because I didn't listen to myself. I didn't trust myself that was not what I wanted to do. And what I wanted to do was something that was completely unknown to me, which was actually mentoring and coaching. And I didn't know anyone that was doing this for software engineers, at least. Then I started to meet people that did it. But the one thing would have been listen to myself and pay attention to what I actually wanted to do, because that's what's driving me at the moment. And I think it makes the whole difference. Maybe it's a bit philosophical here, but but I really mean it.
That is how it is. You always have to listen to yourself because so many people are like, I will just do it, whatever. And then they find themselves in a situation where they hate what they're doing, but they can't stop doing it. Otherwise, they will have no money. So it's totally fair. So yeah, Len, thank you so much for sharing your experience and for having such an open conversation.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Yuri, for having me here and for all the great questions. I enjoyed a lot this time.
Thank you very much. And thank you so much for listening. If you like the show, hit the like button on 5 stars and share it with your friend. That's it. We're done. See you in the next episode.